Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about families,
Oh, yeah.
but not just like your typical family.
Right.
We're going to be diving deep into how different family structures impact kids.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're looking at raising children in a cohabiting relationship versus being married.
Okay.
And we really want to understand the nuances,
Yeah.
all those pros, the cons, all that good stuff.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And to
Yeah.
do that, we've actually been digging into a ton of research and expert opinions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've got sociologists, we've got child psychologists, family law experts,
Cool.
even parenting specialists.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so we're ready to dive deep into this topic.
You know what I think is so interesting about all this is that we're kind of moving beyond that old marriage versus everything else debate.
Right.
It's really more about understanding all these different challenges and opportunities that come with, different family structures.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really struck me when we were doing the research was this statistic that over 40% of kids in the U.S. are actually born to unmarried parents.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of those parents are cohabiting.
Oh, wow.
And that's a huge shift from just a generation ago.
Right.
So I'm really curious to see how this is impacting kids. What are the things we need to be paying attention to?
Well, first off, we have to remember that this isn't just some random cultural thing.
Right.
Economic factors play a role, evolving ideas about commitment, access to education, job security, all of that plays a role in how families are forming now.
Yeah, it's not just one thing, it's a lot of different things.
It really is.
And so it makes sense that marriage isn't the only path to starting a family anymore.
Right.
But I do think it's interesting to kind of look at how that's impacting children specifically.
For sure.
And I think when we talk about kids, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is stability,
Yeah.
creating a secure environment for them to thrive.
Absolutely. Stability is the bedrock of healthy emotional development.
Yeah, and it's more than just having a roof over their heads.
Way more. It's that sense of predictability routine that tells them, their world is safe, their caregivers are reliable.
So knowing that dinner's always at 6 p.m. followed by story time.
Exactly. Those little rituals create a sense of security. It's a signal to their brain that their needs are going to be met.
Right.
They can depend on the adults in their lives.
Yeah.
And that consistency helps them regulate their emotions, build trust, focused on being a kid.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
It's fascinating.
But it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But then does that automatically mean marriage equals more stability?
Well, research shows that cohabiting couples do tend to have higher breakup rates
Okay.
compared to married couples.
Right.
And that's where things can get tricky. Imagine being a child and suddenly your whole family structure changes.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to move schools, adjust to new caregivers. That can be really tough.
Yeah. That sounds really stressful.
It is for a kid. It can really shake their sense of security. It's like pulling the rug out from under them.
Right.
And then they might start acting out, having trouble sleeping, or even struggling to focus in school.
It's amazing how much I think we underestimate the impact of these big life changes on kids.
I agree.
We think of them as resilient, but they're still developing, and those transitions can be really hard.
For sure, they leave a mark.
So it's important to remember that they need stability.
They do.
And this kind of brings us to another layer, which is the legal side of things.
Right.
Because marriage comes with all these built-in legal rights and responsibilities, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah.
But in those cohabiting situations, the legal landscape is a lot murkier,
It is.
which can have, real consequences for a child's well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I'm kind of remembering all this legal stuff around custody and parental rights.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It is complicated. So how does all that work for families who aren't married?
Well, think about it this way. In a marriage, both parents automatically have equal say in their children's healthcare education, all the big decisions.
Yeah.
But for cohabiting couples, it's not that simple.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a non-biological parent might not even have the legal standing to make medical decisions for a child,
Oh, wow.
even if they're super involved in that child's life.
That's wild.
It is.
So you're saying even if the couple is super committed and loving the law, doesn't necessarily recognize that?
It doesn't, and that can create a lot of stress and uncertainty, not just for the parents, but for the kid, too.
Yeah, because there's this potential for ambiguity,
Right.
a lack of clarity around roles and relationships.
Yeah, imagine being a child and seeing your mom's partner as a father figure. But if that relationship ends, there's no legal framework to guarantee his involvement in your life anymore.
Yeah.
That can be really hard for a child to
Right,
process.
because it's like, okay, this person was here and now they're gone.
Exactly.
And there's nothing really like solidifying their role.
And that makes me wonder,
Yeah.
does this legal stuff actually affect how parents interact with their kids on a day-to-day basis?
Like, do cohabiting couples parent differently than married couples?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's one that researchers have been digging into. So are they different?
Yeah, like spill the tea. Do the cohabiting couples parent differently?
It's not really about like right or wrong. It's more about different approaches.
Okay.
Because cohabiting couples often have more flexibility in how they define those family roles. They're kind of
Yeah.
creating their own unique dynamic,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of breaking free from those traditional expectations that come with marriage.
I'm all for breaking free, but does that ever like backfire when it comes to, the nitty-gritty of parenting?
It can,
Oh no.
especially when you have two parents who might not see eye to eye on things like discipline or how involved they should be in their child's education,
Right.
even just like how to handle finances. Like
Yeah.
all that can lead to tension.
And I imagine that tension like trickles down to the kids.
Ex-
Like they can sense that stuff.
It can, and it can leave them feeling caught in the middle,
Oh no.
unsure of who to turn to, what the rules are.
Yeah.
That can be really unsettling for a child who's looking to their parents for guidance and stability.
So are you saying like disagreements are just inevitable in cohabiting families?
Not necessarily,
Right.
but research does suggest that, like, the level of commitment to the relationship itself can play a role.
Okay.
When you think about it, in a marriage, there's this legal and often stronger social expectation of till death do us part.
Right.
And that sense of permanence can actually encourage couples to work harder at resolving their differences
Oh, interesting.
to present a united front for their kids.
I get it that we're in this together mentality.
Exactly.
But to be honest, all this talk about like potential downsides is making me wonder, are there any positives at all to raising kids in a cohabiting family?
Yeah.
What if a couple is like super committed, even if they're not legally married?
You bring up a really important point. It's crucial to remember that we're not saying one family structure is like better than another.
Okay, good.
What really matters is creating that loving, stable environment, and that can absolutely exist regardless of legal status.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear.
And cohabiting families can actually offer some unique strengths.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For example, they often have more freedom to create a family structure that truly reflects their needs and values,
Okay.
breaking away from some of those traditional gender roles or societal expectations.
So it's like they're building their own custom designed family,
Exactly.
one that really works for them.
And don't forget, every family, married or cohabiting, faces challenges.
Right.
It's how those challenges are navigated, how parents communicate and prioritize their children's needs that makes all the difference.
So we've talked about stability. We've unpacked like all the legal stuff. We even explored different parenting styles.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what truly matters most for a child's well-being?
From a child development perspective, it really boils down to those core elements.
Yeah.
Consistency, security, and clear parental roles.
Okay.
Marriage offers a more traditional framework for those things, sure,
Yeah.
but a committed cohabiting family can absolutely provide that same level of emotional stability for a child.
So it's not about the label. It's about the substance.
Exactly.
I love that substance over label.
Right.
So it's not about like checking boxes. It's about creating a home where kids feel truly loved, supported, and secure.
And that's something that can happen in any family structure.
That's so reassuring to hear. At the end of the day, every family is unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to raising happy, healthy kids.
Absolutely. And, I think it's important for us to all kind of move away from judgment
Right.
and embrace, all the beautiful diversity we see in families today.
Yeah.
What we've learned today is that while marriage might offer some, legal and social advantages,
Yeah.
a loving and stable environment is possible, in any family structure.
I love that takeaway, and I think it's a great way to kind of like sum up all the things we've talked about today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground, from like the changing landscape of family structures to like the emotional and legal stuff around cohabitation versus marriage.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But I think like the biggest message for me is that it's the quality of those relationships.
Absolutely.
The love and support that's provided that really truly shapes a child's well-being.
Couldn't agree more. And, it's something for all of us to think about,
Yeah.
whether we're parents or aunts or uncles, just members of a community.
Right.
How can we create environments where all children, regardless of their family structure, feel loved, supported, and empowered?
That's such a great point, and it's a good reminder that we all have a role to play,
We do.
in supporting families and healthy child development. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a question to ponder,
Yeah.
thinking about your own experiences. What factors do you think contribute most to a child feeling loved and secure regardless of their family structure?
It's a question worth considering. It is. And, maybe in those answers, we'll find the key to creating a world where every child really has the opportunity to flourish.
I think so.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into like the complexities of cohabitation versus marriage.
Yeah, this was great.
It was great. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.